Welcome to the EOB podcast, where we discuss the weekend box office and a new opening this week. I am Ben No, and joining me is Sen Duong. So let's begin. Sen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So this Tak3n is not stopping anytime soon, is it?
No, it just keeps on going.
It's just keep on going and going and going.
Yeah.
Last week I said that the movie will make around 20 to 25.
Yeah. And I was like 35 to 40.
Yes. And I said I was counting on franchise fatigue.
Right. And I was saying how the trailer was pretty awesome, and
It was. I saw it and it was good. And it seemed to come full circles, the story.
yeah. I went to see it over the weekend, and well, I have to preface it by saying that I only had 3 hours of sleep the night before because of the kids. They're sick and all. So I fell asleep through most of the film.
Okay, wait. All right. So you went to see the movie with only 3 hours of sleep, but you fell asleep at the movie anyway.
Yeah.
Which means it's not really that good, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, I like obviously I like the first one like most people. And even though the second one was critically panned by most critics, who said it's pretty much a retread of the first film, I still enjoyed it. So I was kind of looking forward to this third one. And it didn't. I guess it wasn't. It didn't deliver what the trailer promised. The trailer was like, "This is it.
Right.
Everyone's on him. He's against the local policeman, the FBI, the CIA, and the thing is, the majority of the film, is more of a story between him and his daughter, and it's more of a quiet action movie."
Okay, so all those action scenes that we saw in the trailer, that was it.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah. So I was kind of disappointed.
Okay, but hey, it made 39 million over the weekend.
I think I read that it's like the third best January debut ever.
Yeah, it's good because studios dumped the movies in January, and anything over 20 million is great.
Yeah, and this made 39 million.
This one made 39 million, which is like what 10 mil less?
Yeah, than the second one.
Than the second movie.
But significantly higher than the 24 million by the first movie.
Right, because nobody knew about the first movie before. I mean, it was the first movie, and nobody knew what it was. But then, the second movie opened huge, like nearly a million. And the third movie reportedly cost 48 million to make.
Well, I think half of that, like you said last week, half of that probably went to
Liam Neeson.
Because the film doesn't look, from the trailer, it made it seem like they actually put more money into it with all these cars blowing up and all that stuff. But the majority of the film is very low tech. It doesn't look like a $100 million blockbuster. It doesn't even look like it cost 48 million.
Well, it doesn't really cost 48 million because 20 of that went to Liam Neeson.
Right, yeah, exactly. So whatever money they had, they spent it on making the trailer look great.
And it worked.
Yeah. And it worked, yeah.
Right. With this opening, it's pretty much guaranteed that there will be a Tak3n 4.
Yeah. Although they already started on that. It's called Running All Night or something. What's
right. Yeah. So, but I don't know. That movie was delayed.
It was delayed? Oh.
Yeah, for some reason or another.
Oh, the release has been delayed?
I don't know if the release has been delayed or the start
production.
has been delayed for some reason.
Oh, okay. Well, it seems like they're already done with it, right? They already put out a trailer.
I'm not sure. If there's a trailer, then that means they're done.
Yeah. And it looks like another Tak3n movie, except this time he's protecting his son instead of his daughter.
All right.
So they already made Tak3n 4. It's just called, it's just the title's different. I mean, his hairstyle's the same. He wears the same, outfit.
Right.
The film looks very similar,
Right. But with these action thrillers, right? They're all pretty much the same movie. It's just that with different characters, right? So, okay.
Sure.
So we'll see how what Run All Night.
Is it Run All Night?
It's something like that. It could be that the title may receive a title change.
It is Run All Night.
It may get a title change, who knows? But it's a Liam Neeson movie, and with the Tak3n movies and with Gray,
Oh yeah, Gray and Nonstop.
Nonstop. It seems like people like to see Liam Neeson as an action hero.
Yeah, I think Run All Night is directed by the director of Nonstop, which made almost 100 million. I think outside of the Tak3n movies, that's Liam Neeson's second best.
Right. I think my question in all of this is where's Jason Statham? I mean, he got this market cornered, but
Yeah.
for some reason
Well, he's got a corner, but for some reason, I mean, the Transporter films and his other films, Transporter, I think the highest grossing one was like 45 million, but he's got that cornered. But I think Liam Neeson took it to a mainstream level.
Oh, sure, but there's still money to be made in these action thrillers in January and February.
I think people got tired of Jason Statham because he makes the same movies over and over again, and then the grosses have been declining.
Wait, and Tak3n is not?
That's true.
Maybe Liam Neeson has more range.
Yeah, he does have more range.
Okay. All right.
Although I have to say Jason Statham's not a bad actor either.
Sure.
We've seen him in dramatic roles that have been pretty good, like the mechanic and the bank job. So we've seen him in other movies that are better films that are kind of different from his Transporter films.
Right.
But it seems like probably because the Transporter films have done relatively well, and they're cheap to make, he just kept on cranking them out, and I guess eventually people kind of got tired of it, and the grosses have been declining, and at his current way he would go direct to video.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, right. But Liam Neeson kind of took that to a mainstream level,
Because Liam Neeson is cool.
Yeah, he's cool, and he has an Oscar, so he can take in crowds that are not your average action crowd.
Right, people who've seen Schindler's List, right? Oh yeah, Liam Neeson, Tak3n. All right, let's go and watch.
Yeah. It's not Schindler's List, but
Right. It's close. There are guns. We have to look at the second weekend to see how this movie will do. I mean, if there's a huge drop, then that may mean that the series is over. But if it continues on, then pretty much guaranteed that there will be a Tak3n 4, and he'll be back to do I don't know what. I mean, what else? Where else they can take this?
I mean, they killed his wife. They could.
A spoiler alert, by the way, for those who haven't seen it.
What wasn't that in the trailer?
It was in the trailer, but hey, for those who haven't seen the trailer, you might be surprised, might get caught off guard.
Well, let's just say they kind of replace her with another character. With another family member. So
I think she's done with the role. Say, okay, I'm tired of this movie or this series. She probably moved on to better things.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to number 2 is Selma. It expanded in its third week, made 11.3 million, which I guess is a disappointment. But then again, like when it was even in limited release, I said that it was going to be one of those movies that which is just there. It may get a bump from the Golden Globes. I think it won best song or something. Didn't win any major awards.
The reviews have been great, and I think because everyone was comparing it to The Butler and other films focused on African American history, they built it in the 20 million range, so I guess people are disappointed by the 11 million.
Do you think the box office is because that there are too many MLK biopics? Remember that there are a couple others, either in previous years or that there will be coming out.
Well, it could just be one of those things where people were like, well, I guess it's hard to say. I mean, Lincoln with Steven Spielberg did make almost 200 million, right?
Yeah, but that's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, that's true. But the budget is relatively cheap. It's 20 million, and it looks like it'll definitely, with the MLK weekend coming up, it's got to do pretty well this coming weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it will get a bump with the Golden Globes and the MLK weekend coming up. But yeah, Selma expanded and came in number 2 at 11.3 million. Yeah.
Which most box office analysts were disappointed by, because of the reviews are great. 99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, but again, maybe it is the subject matter really. Or
Yeah.
there are
Maybe people are just
too many
like, hey,
MLK biopics.
yeah, maybe.
Okay, let's move on to
Into the Woods.
3. Yes, number 3, Into the Woods. In its third week, 9.5 million, and made over 105 million domestic. So, do you think it's a huge drop, or that's in line with this movie?
Most films this weekend have had a huge drop, so it's not bad if you look at Box Office Mojo. The drop offs, it's like mostly in the top 10 or like 50 to 60%. So the 49% is actually kind of on the lower end.
And it already made over 100 million, which is pretty good. I mean, for a million, that cost 50 million to make.
Yeah, so it's already a hit. Everything now is just cream.
Okay, moving on is coming in number 4, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, made 9.3 million and over 136 million domestic. And
236.
Oh yeah, 236, excuse me.
Yeah.
And it's doing quite well. It is actually ahead of the Smog.
Yeah, although at the way it's dropping, there might be a slight chance that it might not make as much as Smog. So we'll see. We'll see in the upcoming week.
But at the same time, if in its fourth week, it's a little bit ahead of Smog.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 million.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see if it can keep that up.
Okay, let's move on to number 5, Unbroken, 8.1 million, and it made over 101 million domestic.
On a 65 million budget.
Directed by Angelina Jolie.
And it's kind of like Into the Woods. It's holding up pretty well. Both films cost about the same, and both films ended up making about the same.
So where do you see Angelina Jolie go from here? More directing, you think?
Sounds like it, yeah. Sounds like that's what she wants to do more of. This is the second film she's directed, and this is actually a huge hit. So. Right,
and it appears that these are the type of movies she wanted to make.
Yeah, seems like more serious films, more dramatic.
More dramatic, but more like a period, I think. Okay.
Well, it depends. I mean, we've only seen 2.
Exactly. But if we just look at what she did before and the topics that she's interested in directing.
Because the one before that was is more like a Middle Eastern political film, right?
Yeah.
It seems like the only common thread here is they're both dramas.
True.
Yeah.
But we like to make things up. I mean, that's what we do.
Right.
Okay.
But it is very different from the kind of films that she's popular for, which is, she's kind of like one of the few actresses who can open an action movie.
Well, she is kind of like the Liam Neeson, female version of Liam Neeson, isn't it? She can move into all sort of roles. From action to drama. Have we seen her do comedy?
No, I don't think so. But you're right, she is kind of like Liam Neeson. Whenever she'll make dramas, thrillers, whatever, but whenever she feels like collecting a 20 million paycheck, she'll make an action film.
Yeah, when she goes broke and she wanted more money, action film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Liam Neeson's right now is just like, I'm just gonna keep on collecting the checks until they go down.
Well, you know what? I'm happy for Liam Neeson. You know why? Yeah, because he struggled when he was he didn't struggle, but relatively, right? When he was younger, and now that when he's getting up there in age, I'm happy that he's making 20 million. He found success box office wise.
Yeah, he's found his true calling.
Right. I'm not sure if that's what he wants to do, but you can't argue with money.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to number 6, The Imitation Game. 7.2 million over the weekend, 40.4 million so far.
Yeah, and it doubled his theater count.
Right, it was released in limited theaters and then it expanded.
It's doing well, so another 7.2 million. Although I wonder if they're going to continue expanding this weekend.
I don't know, because it's already in over 1,000 theaters.
Yeah, but I could see it going to 2,000 and then 3,000.
Possible, but then again, there are other movies, the newer movies coming out. I mean, if it performs well, I could see like theater chains adding more screens. But right now, it's only doing what? It's actually doing pretty well. I mean, over 4,000 per screen average. So why not?
Yeah, same. Yeah, they'll probably expand it, and it's doing consistently well. Most of the films in the top 10, it is the one by far with the least drop off, only 7.2%.
Right, and the per screen average is still pretty good. So expanding makes sense.
Yeah. Remember when I was saying some people were thinking it's gonna make 100 million? It could make 100 million.
Yeah.
Maybe not 100, but maybe 70, 80. Well, we'll see next week.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be 60, 70 range.
We'll see. If it makes another 7 next week,
Yeah, okay, we'll keep an eye out on it. Let's move on to number 7, Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb. 6.7 million over the weekend. 99.5 million, almost made it to 100 million in this fourth week. But the budget is quite high, 127. So
yeah, it's kind of mediocre, I guess. It's not a bomb, but not gonna make that much money for Fox. Even though it's doing pretty well overseas, made 150 million so far. But compared to the previous films, it's still in the lower end.
Well, like you say, Ben Stiller probably had a couple of stinkers on his hand, and he decided to come back to one of his larger franchises, and that's Night at the Museum, and it then performed up to expectations since it cost so much to make.
And it looks like it'll probably top out at most 120. Whereas the previous one made 177, and then the first one made 260. We probably won't see a fourth one.
I think the problem is that they don't have the eye patch guy. Right? You need that eye patch guy if you're going to do these sequels. Right?
Yeah. I guess,
there's nothing tying them together. Okay, we'll leave it at that.
All right.
Okay, moving on to number 8 is Annie, the musical. 4.7 million over the weekend, made nearly 80 million so far in the U.S. in its fourth week.
And despite poor reviews, it's doing pretty well.
Yes. So I think one of those more family-friendly films that would hold up.
All right, Woman in Black 2.
Number 9, 7 million.
Yeah.
22 million so far total, and like you say,
huge drop off.
70%. Huge in the second week.
And it doesn't look like it'll get to 30 million at this rate. And if they produce a sequel, it's going direct to video.
That is true. That's true. I think part of the problem is there's no Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe. Well, anyway, the first movie was like come out of nowhere hit.
Yeah, it was a surprise hit. I think it was well reviewed too. It was like 75% on Rotten Tomatoes.
But I think this movie is like, because the first movie did so well, we need to make another one.
Yeah. And the reviews are horrible.
Yeah.
And like you said, no Daniel Radcliffe.
I mean, I don't think it really ties into the first movie. It's just kind of like another story that takes place in the same world or something like that.
Kind of like, hey, we have a hit. Let's crank out another one.
Yes, we need to strike while it's hot, while people still remember that there's a movie called Woman in Black.
Yeah, one of the publicists, when we were talking about, they're like, Woman in Black 2 is coming out. He's like, geez, I didn't know the first one did well enough for there to warrant a second one.
Exactly. It didn't do that well, but it did well enough relative to its. It did well enough relative to its budget. They made 54 million, which most people were like, whoa. It did come out of nowhere. Right, and these movies are like really cheap to make, so that's why.
Anyway,
number 10. Okay, number 10. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, 3.7 million over the weekend, and it has made 329 or 330 million domestic.
Yep.
This week.
Has it surpassed Guardians of the Galaxy yet?
I'm not sure.
If it hasn't, it will in another week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, not yet. Guardians of the Galaxy is at 333 million.
300. Oh, it'll surpass easily.
Yeah. So
within the next 2 weeks, probably.
Yes. So looks like Mockingjay will be the #1 film of 2014.
Yeah, even though it goes into 2015.
Yeah. Anything sticks out at you in the rest of the movies?
I'm surprised that Alexander and A Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day is still on the list somewhere.
66 million so far.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good on a budget of only 28 million.
Right.
Interstellar is at 185 million.
Mm-hmm. Boyhood is probably going to expand.
You think they're going to expand for the Oscars? Maybe?
It won Best Picture at the Golden Globes. So it makes sense to expand.
They should. I would definitely. I haven't seen it. I want to see it.
Even though the per screen average is only okay.
Yeah.
1,200 per screen, but still, I mean, it's gonna get a bump either way.
Mm-hmm. It's made 24 million so far, and at a budget of only 4 million.
Right, but it's in theaters already for 27 weeks.
I think, like you said, it makes sense though. Especially after the Golden Globes.
Right, it's like free advertising. It doesn't hurt to give it a couple more theaters.
Right. Oh, let's talk about the interview. Remember last week how we were saying, hey, if Sony releases more VOD figures, then it's a hit. And they did.
They did? Okay.
So far, after 2 weeks of release on VOD, now the first week it made 15 million.
Mm-hmm.
So after 2 weeks, the total is 31 million. So it made. So on the second week, it made 16 million. It's doing pretty well. In theaters, it only made 6 million so far. So it definitely lost out in the theatrical revenue, but VOD the online revenue, because revenue for online has been so low. It's like previous to the interview, a high would be like 8 million, and this is at 31 million so far and still going. And people are like, well, you don't get back the theatrical, but you're also making so much more on the digital format. That this digital format might make up for the theatrical.
Do you think that the online services like Google, iTunes do their normal 30% cut?
I don't know what their cut is, but I don't think it's nearly as high as the theaters. Because theaters, I guess on average, is a 50% cut. But
I think the first or second weekend is like 50% or something like that. And then afterward, I think more goes to the theaters.
Yeah. And then on average it ends up being like 50-50. But it depends. I mean, for big movies, some studios demand as much as 80% of the first weekend.
Right. I mean, they can
but if you
right?
But if you average it out, I think it's about 50-50. If you go by that average, and because VOD has been such a small, digital, not VOD in general, but online revenue. For movies has been so low in the past. With the interview, this online revenue might make up for the loss in theatrical revenue. I mean, it's made 31 million so far and it's still going. And the thing is, would the interview have done better theatrically? If you take the 31 million online and you add it to the 6 million in theaters, that's like 37 million already after 2 weeks. So the thing that you have to ask now is since they don't make much online before, and now that it's made online and theatrical, like 37 million in 2 weeks, would this movie have done 37 million in 2 weeks in theaters? Probably what it would have done in theaters anyway.
But I would argue that there are different segments. Like there are people who go to theaters because maybe their whole internet connection is not that great, or that they don't know how to use computers. So you're missing out on those people.
No, well, what I'm saying is, what some of the people, or one thing that you said last week was, and a lot of people actually mentioned it too, is that, hey, you know what? It only made 6 million theatrically, and this movie could have made so much more if it was released in theaters. That's money that they're not getting back. But at the same time, what people don't understand is the online revenue is usually very low for these kind of films. I mean, before like a high is 8 million is considered a high. And this film probably wouldn't have made 8 million online before anyway, since 8 million is usually considered a high. And so far, if you add the theatrical and the online revenue, it's 37 million in 2 weeks. And if it was released theatrically, it probably it'll probably make about the same thing. So I think overall, the digital revenue is making up for the loss in theatrical revenue.
Yes, but maybe only in the case of the interview, I would say, until we get more data.
Yeah, I'm saying only in this specific case, because some of the people in previous weeks have said, well, it's still, so what if it made all this money online? It would have made that money online anyway, and it's losing all this theatrical revenue. But what they don't know is, these movies don't make that much online before this.
Right, that's true. But like I say, it's only because the interview, I mean, everybody knows about the interview.
Well, I'm not arguing about whether or not people know about it and all that stuff. I'm just saying that one of the things that people have said that, hey, so what if it made this much online? It still lost all that money theatrically. So they're saying that overall, it would have still made a lot more money if it was released in theaters first. And I'm saying, like, these people aren't taking into consideration that this movie wouldn't have made much money online if it went through the traditional route. And now it's making, it made 31 million online, which is by far the most any movie has ever made online. And that amount seems to have made up for the loss in theatrical revenue. It's a decent success when you think about it.
I guess. But again, kind of brave new world here. We won't know until we get more data points. And in this specific case, I guess you could be right saying that it could make the same amount if it was released in theaters with the VOD. So
VOD, I think that's what people are confused by. People are thinking, hey, VOD, video on demand, which lumps in, cable and all the other revenue. But what they don't understand is that in this specific case, VOD means just digital online revenue, people renting it online and people downloading the movie online. And in this specific case, before the interview, that wasn't that big of a market, so the interview wouldn't have made 31 million in 2 weeks when the previous large numbers were like 8 million, and that's with huge promotion promoting the online release. So in this case, it seems like the digital revenue is able to make up for the loss in theatrical revenue.
If I were to guess, I would say that the people who would normally catch the interview in theaters are watching it online. Pretty much the young people.
Yeah. Which is most of Seth Rogen's fans probably.
Right. I think that's why we're seeing the huge number online. That's my guess.
So I'm curious to see what this week's gonna be. What this week's figure is gonna be.
Can it hold up?
I mean, it held up better than I expected. Because the first week they only counted 4 days, and the second week is like 7 days. But still, going from 15 million and then 16 million in the second week is pretty good. Even though it opened up, it definitely, iTunes started carrying it. All the digital, cable companies have started offering it on VOD. Right. So
here's the thing. Here's the thing with online, right? You can go to your friend's house, log into your account, and watch the movie there. Once you buy the movie,
which is more impressive when you think about it. When people are probably watching it in groups. And it still made 16 million. Right. These aren't individual people paying for the film individually. They probably ordered online, got a bunch of their friends together, and watched it. So which, like I said, makes it more impressive. So I'm curious to see what this figure is going to be. The other thing I kind of want to talk about is the Chinese box office.
Oh, okay, Chinese box office. What's going on there?
Last year, China's total box office reached 4.8 billion. Which is a 36% increase over the previous year, which makes it by far the second largest film market in the world. And it's now only about half of the US film market, which is super impressive because during the previous years, like I think 2013 and 2012, it was growing at 30% and then like 29%. And this year I was thinking it can't keep on growing at the 30% level every year, right? But this year it did even better, 36%.
Well, the thing with China is that there are a lot of people, over 1 billion. A lot of places are not as developed as the major cities, and that standard of living are going up everywhere. So they still have ways to go
Although that's the thing, I was, looking at the previous year, the growth rate looked like it was slowing down because it just seems like, well, it can't be growing at this rate every single year, right? But I think from 2012 to 2013, the growth rate was like, it went down to like 28%. And then this year it went back to 36%. I'm like, wow, it's still growing at that pace. If it continues at that pace, in 2 years, it's going to catch up to the US, which is incredible considering when Rumble in the Bronx was released, 15 years ago? It made like 5 million in China, and it was considered a record. This was like 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. And now movies in China are making like 100 to 200 million.
They are still building out theaters. I mean, before, there weren't that many theaters considering the population.
Yeah, they are still.
So they are kind of like underserved in that sense.
They are building more theaters, but one of the concerns they had last year was that they built a lot more theaters, but the growth in proportion to the amount of new theaters that they built wasn't proportional. It was like the growth rate was slower than the amount of theaters they built. So there was a concern that, hey, it is slowing down. But this year it went back up, which is pretty impressive. And if it continues at this rate, in 2 years it'll catch up to the US, and in 3 years it'll surpass the US film market, which is pretty crazy. One of the interesting things is like they're slightly backwards in terms of Stallone and Arnold movie. There's still huge draws in China, and I think one of the reasons is a lot of these people who've seen their films have never seen their films in theaters. They've seen it on video, and now they can finally watch them on a big screen. And it seems like a lot of them are rushing out to watch their movies, even though Stallone and Arnold aren't much of a draw in the U.S. anymore. But anyway, just a note that, geez, if they continue at this rate in 3 years, they're going to surpass the U.S., which is pretty crazy.
You know what they're saying? They right now they're saying that the Hollywood is making movies for people in China.
Yeah, they are catering. I do see a lot of it. I mean, it's kind of weird that like even in
simple plot, big action pieces.
Yeah. Well, not just that, they incorporated, like for instance, over the weekend I saw Paddington, and there was a scene in there where the daughter was studying Chinese because she's thinking about starting a business. And it's one of those things that people around the world are more aware of the Chinese film market, and they're throwing in these scenes to try to appeal to the Chinese market. Even in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball 2, there was a scene where someone was trying to speak some Chinese terms.
You're right. Of course, the latest Transformer movie.
Yeah. So it seems like a lot of films are just throwing in these little scenes just to kind of cater to that market because it's growing so fast. And like Transformers actually made more in China than they made in the US. Transformers 4.
Right. Basically, we'll see people speak Mandarin in movies for no reason at all, and movies will shift gears and go to China.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because.
Yeah. It seems like it, especially in Meatballs and even in Paddington. I'm just like, whoa. It's just a random, scene, with people learning Chinese and
right, and there'll be bits about the central government of China and how cool they are and how great they are.
Which is kind of interesting because like in Serenity. So in Serenity, they were saying in the future people are gonna speak English and mix English and Mandarin. I'm thinking about it. You know what? It's actually not that far off. Eventually that might be the two, main languages that people speak in the world. Especially it's starting to happen in the movies.
Okay,
all right.
That's good enough about China. That's enough, I guess.
Right.
We'll probably come back to this later on. Moving on to next week.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so we have Blackhat.
A bunch of movies.
Yes, Blackhat, directed by Michael Mann, starring Chris Hemsworth, Viola Davis, and a couple of Chinese actors.
Wang Lihong.
Where have we seen him before?
Last Caution.
Last Caution?
Yeah, and we've also seen Dang Wei in the same film.
Yes, Tang Wei, Last Caution.
Yeah, Tang Wei.
Li Hong Wang is one of those people who's an entertainer, really, an actor, musician, director.
He directed the film?
He directed a film called Love in Disguise, 2010.
Oh, okay.
And he plays one of, I guess, the government official, I guess, in China that's trying to catch a hacker that's operating out in the, Asia region.
It's good to see Wang Lihong in it, though, because he's Canadian-born, he speaks fluent English, and, this is like one of the... I don't think he's appeared in any other Hollywood films where he can actually speak his natural language. I'm not sure how good his Mandarin is, but I could hear an American accent in his Mandarin.
Okay.
So it's good to see that he's finally able to speak his natural language, which is English, in the film.
Awesome. Well, because I am not really familiar with him, other than I saw him in I think Little Soldier, Big Soldier. The one with Jackie Chan.
The Jackie Chan film, one of his good ones. Later good ones.
The film is all right. It's not that good, but great cinematography.
But it's a good world movie, good world comedy. It's a solid world comedy.
It's all right. I mean, sometime with the thing with Asian cinema is that they have these big change in emotions. They can go from comedy.
These tonal.
These tonal changes. And then this goes to this tragedy the next minute. And it's like, what's going on? And then they sometimes in the third act they would change into a different movie.
That's kind of a staple of Hong Kong / Chinese films.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it seems like they lost interest in the movie that they're making, and they try to change it into a different one. That's my beef with Asian cinema. All right, okay, pretty much a Michael Mann movie. He has his own distinctive style.
Yeah, it's a good segue from our previous thing about how Hollywood is catering to the Chinese market.
True,
and this one they cast two of the bigger names in China. Yeah.
Actually, I'm surprised that Tang Wei, the actress in Less Caution, she recovered from her role in the movie. Before there was this thing about boycotting her because she pretty much appeared nude.
Here's the thing: I saw it in China, and I don't know what their beef is because in China they cut off most of the nudie scenes. I mean, you still see them, breathing hard and, moaning and groaning, but, in terms of body parts, most of it is on the cutting room. So I don't know why in China there was a huge controversy over it.
Well, I think it's maybe it's because people seen the uncut version.
In China?
In China or like the censor board, right?
Okay, maybe the censor board, but
and then they just want to clamp it down. It's like, hey, okay, if we let this through, or if we don't send a message, then more people are going to do. I mean, we'll see more of this in the movies. So I think that's it. It's the same thing with like celebrities and drugs. They want to clamp down hard, saying, okay, you're not doing this. So that's what I think. But anyway, I guess she apologized and her career recovered, and she's doing quite well.
She did a Chinese version of Sleepless in Seattle, which did really well. Like I think it made 80 or 100 million in China. So she's been pretty successful in China.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that she kind of made it big after that.
No, after that controversy.
Yeah.
I mean, despite the controversy, Less Caution did pretty well in China.
Yeah. Or one could say that helped her, that propelled her.
Right. I thought the extra, the nudie scenes you see in the U.S. actually helps the film because it makes it seem like her character is more connected to, because in the film she's like faking her love for the Tony Leung character.
Right.
And then in the end, she's kind of ambiguous and she's not sure if she's really faking it or does she really love him.
Yeah.
And when you cut out most of those scenes, like it lost some of that intimacy, it lost some of that ambiguousness. In that case, I felt like cutting off the nudie scenes actually hurt the film.
It's one of those movies about intimacy, even though it's in the backdrop of World War II, I guess, with Japan invading China. It comes from one where it's a physical relationship, and then it becomes more emotional. All right, how do you think it will do?
Blackhat.
Blackhat.
I don't know.
I hated the name, by the way.
Yeah.
It's so generic.
Yeah, it is. The thing is, I think American Sniper is opening wide this weekend, right? Which means most people will probably watch American Sniper.
Mm-hmm.
So Blackhat, I'm pegging it at the 10 to 15 million range.
Okay, let me tick off some previous Michael Mann movies. Let's see. What's Public Enemies, Michael Mann's last movie before this one?
Well, according to Box Office Mojo.
This guy's not very active, is he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. Public Enemies, 2009. Wow, this is one lazy dude.
Well, like James Cameron's like, hey, I make one movie and then I go fishing for 6 years.
That's
like,
true,
that's
but when he made that movie, he makes it count, you know?
Yeah. Well, Michael Mann has been pretty good at the box office. Huh?
That's true, but like the thing is, like he doesn't make enough movies. He needs to do more.
His last 3 films opened, 25 million.
Exactly. Okay. Public Enemies, 2009, 25. Miami Vice, 25. Collateral with Tom Cruise, about 25.
But Collateral has Tom Cruise.
Uh-huh.
Miami Vice has Colin Farrell and Jimmy Fox and Gong Li when they were still hot.
Yes.
When they can still open movies.
Right. And it's based on a popular TV show.
Yep. And then Public Enemies has Denzel. Wait, no, it doesn't have. Oh, Johnny Depp and Christian Bale.
Yep.
Yeah. It has Johnny Depp when he was still super hot from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
And Christian Bale was the Batman movies.
Right. But Blackhat has Thor.
Yeah.
Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And he has Lee Hong Wang and Tong Wei.
But Chris Hemsworth, his films outside of Thor, hasn't been, they're like 10 million range. So I'm putting it at around there too.
So you're saying 10 million this weekend?
Maybe 12.
I think I'll put it in that range as well. I saw the trailer and it's just an okay movie, I think.
Yeah, it seems kind of generic, doesn't it?
It does. It doesn't really actually, and it doesn't look like a Michael Mann movie either.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing you can count on Michael Mann is his cinematography, and this one looks like you say, generic.
Although it is kind of dark, and you do see some graininess, and you do see a little bit of the Michael Mann look.
Right, yeah. And I would expect they would cast someone younger. You know, when you think hacker, you think some guy is a teenager or something like that.
Well, Chris Hemsworth in movie terms is a teenager.
Right. Okay.
They always cast like people in their 30s or sometimes 40s playing, people who are 10, 20 years younger. Because most hackers are probably on as whipped as Chris Hemsworth. Yeah.
People who watch the movie say, "Bring out your hammer, Thor! Use your hammer!"
Yeah. Just take it and whack the laptop.
Exactly. Okay, yeah. 10 to 12, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Especially when there are so many new movies coming out. Or movies that are expanding.
What do you think of, so there's Blackhat, what do you think of American Sniper?
American Sniper, wow. I think it's going to do 30, right? At least?
30?
You don't think?
Yeah, at least 30. I watched it last night. Very intense, kind of moving, kind of patriotic, and I think it's going to do really well, actually. Probably even 40 million.
Wow, 40 million.
Yeah. I mean, for January release, it
is.
We have 2 consecutive weekends where a movie opens to nearly 40 million.
It's doable because the money is there, right? As proven by Tak3n. It's just that will people want to come to watch? Do people like the movies?
Yeah, because American Sniper, it could be a pretty mainstream film. I mean, it's very intense, lots of gun battles.
Right.
I can see your average person it's being kind of promoted as an Oscar contender, but the action crowd will definitely like it.
And anyway, like you say in previous podcasts, the movie in limited release pretty much like breaking records with its per theater average over like 150. Probably when it expands, it's probably gonna do like 30, 40. If projection holds.
Oh, and speaking of American Sniper, it made another almost 600 grand on just 4 theaters with a per screen average of still 145,000. That's crazy. So 40 million maybe.
So you're going 40 million.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll always go conservative.
You're going 30?
I'm going 30. It'll probably come somewhere in between. Who knows? But
Yeah.
40 million might not be that might not be out of the question. Okay.
Okay, let's see. The Wedding Ringer?
Wedding Ringer, starring Kevin Hart, Josh Gad, Olivia Thirlby.
Yeah, so can Kevin Hart keep the streak going? His most recent films have all done really well, like a couple 100 million grossers well, not a couple, there's Why Along did 134 million. Even About Last Night made nearly 50 million. Think Like a Man 2, 65 million. So can he keep that streak going?
I think he can. I mean, 50 million is doable. Lifetime.
Lifetime, okay, yeah.
Lifetime. Not opening for a movie comedy like this.
So what do you think?
So,
opening 15 million then?
It's a crowded weekend though.
Yeah,
really
and these movies tend to be front loaded. If it's gonna make 50, it should do 15 to 20 million.
Yeah.
It is a very crowded weekend, but then it is the MLK. It is a long weekend though.
Yes, and comedies seem to always do well. Let's go with 15 to 20.
You're going 15 to 20?
15 to 20, yeah.
I'll go on the lower end. I'll say 10 to 15.
15, okay.
All right, Paddington.
Paddington, the thing about the bear.
Yeah, I saw it over the weekend. It was surprisingly good.
Okay, endorsed by Sen. A good, safe children movie, family movie.
Yeah.
People don't have to go to Annie anymore.
The odd thing is the look and feel. It looks like a Wes Anderson movie. Like it came from a children's book look.
Oh, okay.
And it has some of his quirky humor too, but a little bit more mainstream and more family friendly. I liked it. My kids liked it, and I guess the books were popular in the UK. I'm not sure if they're popular in the US.
Right. Tough to say. I mean, the movies couldn't all make.
Yeah, they couldn't all make like 10 to 15, right?
Yeah. I mean, what if we say that American Sniper is taking most of the
40, yeah.
Yeah, then the rest, and then if we're doing like two movies doing 10 to 15 million range, that doesn't leave a lot of room,
Why?
Probably Paddington. I will have to go, but the family crowd.
Yeah, it's the only family film out there, huh?
One of these movies will bomb, I think.
Yeah. So which one?
If I have to bet on Blackhat.
Yeah, I'm thinking
failing.
Yeah, me too. Same here.
So Paddington, I think it will have to.
I'm thinking the 10 to 15 range too.
Yeah, but I'm going higher with this one. I think maybe 15.
Okay, 15.
Paddington.
Okay.
Yeah. Cyber, I will have to revise it to the lower ones. Like you say, probably
maybe 10 million tops.
Yeah, closer to 10.
Okay.
Right.
I kind of agree with you.
So wow.
So we're kind of in agreement this week, except for American Sniper. I'm thinking 40. You're thinking 30.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see how it goes.
Okay, and we'll come back next week
and
see how we do.
Yeah, and see how else we can go on a tangent.
Exactly. We'll talk more about China.
Yeah, or India.
And India. Okay, so we'll check back next week, and we'll see you then.
Yep. Happy MLK weekend.
Yes, happy MLK weekend. And who knows, maybe Selma will get a bump. All right, signing off.
Bye.